Hi, I'm Scott Buttram from the Trussville Tribune, here with the Republican nominee for Lieutenant Governor, Will Ainsworth of Guntersville. Will, thanks for joining us.
Hey, great to be with you.
Let's start with the simple stuff. What brought you to this place? Why are you running for Lieutenant Governor of Alabama?
Hey, great question. I get asked that a lot, and really it goes back to service. I went into youth ministry right out of college, and have this belief that you have one life to make a difference. You better make a difference while you're here on earth, and so that's why I went into youth ministry. It's ultimately why I ran for the House 4 years ago, and then why I felt led to run for lieutenant governor. Is I believe in service. I believe in making a difference, and that's why I decided to run.
So you've got one term in the legislature under your belt. Yeah. Are you prepared for this job?
Absolutely. I think when you look at my private sector experience, I've got experience building 3 different businesses, and that makes a difference, right? I actually understand payroll. I understand I've signed the front of a check. And here's the other thing. I kept those, and you'll appreciate this, I've kept those businesses running during a downturn. And now things are going well again. Obviously right now, there's a lot of confidence. It's easy to make money now, but I was able to do that during some of the toughest times our country's faced.
What type of businesses did you start?
Yeah, absolutely. We got a consumer trade show business in the outdoor industry. We have a property development business. We have a business, a hunting and fishing resort called Dream Ranch in Guntersville. And I also have a commercial cattle operation.
How do you see your role as Lieutenant Governor in Alabama?
Yeah, great question. To me, Lieutenant Governor is what you make it. And, my plan is to work with the governor and help her get her agenda passed, and to use the platform of, Lieutenant Governor's office and the mantle to tackle, a lot of tough issues that have been facing our state. I think also the fact that I'm coming from the House and have relationships there, as well as, got a lot of good friends in the Senate, I think I'm going to be a unique position to, build a coalition, get everybody on the same page, and then let's move our state forward.
Before your time in the legislature, when Steve Wyndham became Lieutenant Governor and the Democrats still had control of the State House and the State Senate, a lot of the power from the Lieutenant Governor's office was stripped away. There was talk just in the last few years about stripping away some 400 appointments that fall to the Lieutenant Governor. Would you like to see that power returned, and do you have a position and a relationship with the state legislature that you could see some of that return to the Lieutenant Governor's office?
I think you're going to see some of it returned. I think, what you're talking about, that's when the Democrats took it away, Lowell Barron,
yep.
And what they did certainly wasn't good for our state. And I think you'll see it gradually start coming back. And obviously I think I'll get all the, power that Governor Ivey had, plus, you might see 1 or 2 things come back that Governor Wyndham had, and I think that'll be a start, hopefully a trend to make sure the Lieutenant Governor gets the power back that it deserves. What
are the most important issues with your personal priority facing the state of Alabama right now?
Yeah, absolutely. First is our reputation. I talk to people all over the country, and unfortunately we've been recognized for some of the things that have happened in our past that we're not proud of. And I'm talking about the last 4 years with politicians, whether it's doing stuff for personal gain, whether it's just being an embarrassment to our state. And so the first thing I'm going to do is make sure every day that I work hard, I treat people with integrity, and that I serve in a manner that I can make all Alabamians proud. I think second thing is, we've talked about before, is I've got a passion for education. And I think, we've got to make sure we're able to compete with any state and any country in the world. So how do we get there? I think, kind of 4 things. I think first, my wife was involved in a pre-K program, Even Start program in Marshall County. Mm-hmm. And, I wanted to learn why was pre-K important. So I went and talked to the teachers. And the kindergarten teachers, one of the things they said that surprised me is, Will, we need pre-K. And I said, okay, why? And they said, parents aren't doing their job anymore. They said, we literally have, not all parents, but 30, 40%. We literally have kids coming into kindergarten that have never been read to. I want you to think about that for a second. That have never, they don't understand what an A is. They don't, understand basic colors. And so why does that matter? That kid's going to fall behind, and statistics show us if that kid stays behind, they're going to drop out. So pre-K can help with that. My vision's not to make it mandatory, be voluntary, but any child that'd like to have it, to have access to it. I think the second thing is technology. And, what I've learned in traveling the state is, especially in rural counties and in county school systems, a lot of times they don't have the same technologies a lot of city school systems. My vision for Alabama on technologies for any kid to be able to have access through broadband, but then also availability through devices to where they can compete in the 21st century economy. When you look at the jobs and where the economy's going, certainly STEM jobs are the future. And we've got to make sure, my vision for Alabama is that we lead the nation in our kids understanding how to use technology. It's so important. And then when I think, and also in education, I think one of the biggest crises we have in our state is workforce development, getting people job ready. We have a really good workforce in Alabama, but it's aging. And so what we've got to do is make sure that we get young people excited about, what are you passionate about? What God-given ability do you have? How can we get you engaged in that? And the goal should be not necessarily to get students college ready, but let's get students job ready. And so, whether that's a trade, obviously if you're going to be an accountant, you need to go to college. If you're going to be a doctor, you need to go to med school. If you're going to be a welder, let's get you trained in college. If you're going to go into construction industry, let's get you trained in that trade. And so one of the things I want to do is really just change the conversation and get people job ready. And because I'm a big believer that, like I said earlier, that everybody's got a God-given ability. If we can align that with their passion, they'll be successful in life. And that's really the purpose of education, is to meet the needs of industry. And the final thing in education is just choice, right? Through charter schools and giving people opportunities. I mean, we've got to make sure that students, obviously what we've been doing for 30 years isn't working. Right. So the question is, what can we do to improve schools in Alabama? And that's what I'm interested in, is, I want us to have the best schools anywhere in the country. I think we can do that. But I think we're going to have to be innovative. We're going to have to think outside the box. We're going to have to look at what's worked in other states. And, so education is important. And the third point, I guess I would say, is economic development, recruiting industry. I want to help the governor recruit industry. Got my degree in marketing. I've been in sales my whole life. I think I can certainly be an asset to our state, selling our state, because it's a great state to sell. There's nowhere else I'd rather live. But the thing I really want to also look at is, what can we do to help existing industry expand? We're really good at recruiting new industry, but then when the industries get here, we got to find out what type policies can we put in place to make sure we have a really pro-growth economy in Alabama, and I want to dive into that.
I know that school safety has been an issue for you, an important issue, and you brought up a bill, I think proposed a bill that it didn't get off the ground, but it certainly attracted a lot of teachers or a lot of attention, and that was arming teachers. Since that time, Governor Kay Ivey has put forth a plan, has actually enacted a plan that does allow certain school personnel to be trained and approved through their local sheriff's department. Do you see that as a good solution for areas that can't afford school resource officers?
I do. I think it's a great plan, and I think, and what happened after the shooting in Florida, I had teachers reach out to me and they said, "Will, I never thought I'd be contacting you." I mean, if you'd asked me 5-10 years ago, I'd have said, this is crazy. But I think the reality is now teachers and some educators are scared about their safety. And so ideally, obviously, a school resource officer is the way to go. A lot of counties can't afford that. And what we found is we think there's between 400 to 500 schools in the state that do not have a school resource officer. That's a problem.
That's a problem.
And so I think we've got to solve that, whether that's through, I support Governor Ivey's program, or that any other program that's presented that's common sense. What I've found through looking at this is there's a lot of retired military, there's a lot of active people that serve in the National Guard, and then there's even people that serve, I'm familiar with, in DeKalb County, there's a sheriff's deputy that's a teacher during the day and a deputy at night, but because of the teacher and the school policy, that deputy's not allowed to carry their weapon in. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's the type of common sense stuff I'm talking about, is properly trained people that could actually defend our kids. And that's the last line of defense. Hopefully it doesn't ever get to that, but.
I'm sure you know that there are some Democrats that oppose Governor Ivey's plan and claim that it's illegal. Mm-hmm. Specifically, Chris England out of Tuscaloosa has been very vocal, been very public that he believes it's illegal. Has the state vetted that legally, her plan? Will it hold up?
Yeah, my opinion is it has. I mean, obviously, lawyers a lot of times like to argue, but I think Governor Ivey's got a lot of wisdom. I think, her staff did a good job in coming up with a properly, vetted plan, worked with the superintendent of education, and so I've got full confidence that plan,
Shortly before the primary vote, news broke that you had received an endorsement from AEA, and AEA, in their statement, and I'm paraphrasing a bit, that said they supported you because you opposed school choice. Did you seek that endorsement, and is that a fair characterization of how you feel?
Yeah, so I did not, seek or reach out to them for any type of endorsement. They did a mailer on my behalf, is what they did, and the reason they did that.
Did you know the mailer was coming?
Did not. No, I had all kind of people send it to me when they got it, but I didn't know it was coming. Had no interaction with them. Was didn't have a clue. And I think the thing that they decided to do that because of my position supporting public education, because I have 3 kids that go to public schools, and I think when they looked at my policies and what I believe, but I mean, I just want to make sure your audience knows. I mean, they spent $125,000 against me in the House, but I think what they saw is, since I've been in the House, is that I care about our schools and I care about my kids' future, and I think they saw that he has a real passion for improving kids' opportunities and lives in Alabama through education, and I assume that's why they did it. I don't know. You can ask them. So.
And it is possible to support public education and support school choice at the same time. I do that every day, and
right.
I know a lot of people feel that same way. If you had 30 seconds, a minute, to give the voters of Alabama the reason, is specifically the voters in our area of Alabama, the reason that they should support you for Lieutenant Governor, we're going to give you that chance. What would you say to the voters?
Absolutely. I'm from the private sector, built businesses my entire life. I've got integrity, and I've got a real passion for improving our state. And I think the brightest years are ahead. I think the next 4 to 8 years in Alabama, there's going to be a lot of excitement, and I want to be a part of that and actually trying to help improve our state.
Will, thank you for joining us.
Great to be with you.
We appreciate you taking the time to visit with us, and more importantly, taking the time to visit with our readers and our viewers. I'm Scott Buttram with the Trustful Tribune. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.